Hey guys, so I am finally happy to basically cover American Horror Story Season 10 double feature, and this will be the breakdown and analysis of the trailer as well as some theories and predictions that I think that might tie in to past seasons and some small connection I want to talk about for American Horror Story. Now, we know that the season will be taking place with two parts, one by sand and the other one by sea. So, the first thing that I wanted to talk about for double feature is that, you know, I want to put something into perspective that I just realized. Remember, a couple of weeks or months ago, I was telling you guys that American Horror Story, even American Horror Story season 6, had nothing to do with season 10 with the marketing. I always had a feeling that behind the scenes that American Horror Story season 6 have so many different small tie-in to the actual season. Because if you looked at some of the promo pics that American Horror Story season 6 had, it had a lot of alien things going on, or like fusion genetic things, and like how different things that were happening in the background that were confusing us when American Horror Story Roanoke came out. Now, the only difference that I feel as if double feature has on the other season is that, one, remember I mentioned that when American Horror Story had the cooperative back in Apocalypse, how we didn't fully know, if the cooperative were the ones that were, mentioning the aliens, and how they could even create like an artificial robot out of thin air by using Michael Langdon as a source. And now that we are in season 10, we're basically getting back the aliens. Now, the aliens are not surprisingly new, because the aliens were back in season 2 Asylum, when Asylum was airing back in 2012, I would say. We know that basically Asylum had aliens. Now, the aliens were portrayed as like gods, because even if they portray, because they could, you know, they could fix things that's not completely dead, but eventually they will merge or bring back the dead, like what they did with um, Kate and his kids and all. So one of the small trailers that I wanted to share with you guys that American Horror Story season 6 had that I find interesting was this one. It's called I think it was called Neighboring or something, and or it was called I think I forget the trailer name, but I know that it had something to do with aliens, and how this guy basically was sitting normally camping, and next thing you know he got abducted in the air, which is very very synonymous with what's going on to season 10 right now. Now, we definitely, if we're getting aliens, like I said, I feel as if the aliens are like the god of the American Horror Story lore. And whatever new creature that's gonna be battling or coming from the other side has to be, I'm getting a good and evil vibe from the whole thing. One of the best thing I realized that American Horror Story has been doing, we just now getting more marketing of season 10. So we're not fully there, but here's a small little peek of it. So this is what you just saw from back to 2016, when American Horror Story season 6 was being promoted and aired. Now we realized that we saw this whole alien thing going around, and how they wanted to confuse us at first But I feel as if because everybody been asking about the aliens, so I think that they were like, yo, maybe the aliens should be something that we should focus on. So I'm very happy that Ryan Murphy and the team has decided to focus more on the aliens, because the last time we seen the aliens, they were mentioned at least one time, which was season 2, and that they basically fixed the 2 kids that Tate had, and they basically gave the kids kind of like, they part like aliens or something like that. And at the end of season 2 of American Horror Story, we realized that Tate basically either got abducted at the end of the series, and we never got full confirmation on that. And even Kate, um, the they were talking about how the aliens are not fully gods, that they also make mistakes, and that even if they could still bring people back from like a threshold of a, like limbo, they still have like flaws, so they're not perfect. So that's what was mentioned back in season 2. Now we do have a trailer for season 10 already, which in the further on in the video we will be breaking it down, and I will be giving my thoughts and ideas about what's gonna be happening. But like I said, there's a lot that I feel as if they leaving left out. If they're already showing that aliens will be big part of it, if you look at the poster, you realize that there's aliens above, and then there's sea creatures that are basically the enemies of aliens, if you look at the poster very closely. Now, this is the first few screenshots of the actual trailer, and we realize that we have the traditional how aliens should look, with the big eyes and big head, and almost organic human. And then on your left side you see that this grotesque, like, pale, and it looked like a sea creature when it comes to the teeth, but at the same time it could be like a vampire, or a mixture of both vampire and siren, which will be very interesting that we start mixing the actual thing. Now I know that in the location that they're making the season, they do have some legends, folklore about this thing called the Black Jack, and maybe we will get something in the lore behind that. you know I can't wait to see what the episode is gonna be like. Now, we know that there's a lot of returning characters that's gonna be playing in the season, but at the same time, like I said, if we're getting aliens, we should start getting more into like the angels and other folklore of American. Because back in, like I said, 2016 and 2012, we saw that Asylum put, the only reason why sometimes a lot of people put Asylum very low in their rating when it comes to American Horror Story is because Asylum has so many things going on, but they never tie into other season, except Freak Show, when Pepper was basically from the actual Briarcliff, and she actually was coming from a freak show, which was season 4. So season 4 predates Briarcliffs, so therefore that's how Pepper got into the actual Briarcliff area for the patient's mental illness. Now, one thing I feel that they also mention, if you look upon the synopsis and what the seasons kind of connect and what each person is going to be playing. So we know that what we found out is that basically some of the main cast are gonna be returning, playing as either JFK and Marilyn Monroe, and it's like the Kennedy family, as well as we're gonna have some of the old presidents playing as well as I guess they wanted to add the Roswell incident as well, if I'm not mistaken. And some of the previous things that happened in like in the 60s and 70s. So I think they're gonna talk about some of the conspiracies that they found out about aliens. So what I found interesting is if they recurring the roles of presidents and first ladies, we might start getting some theories about the connection to aliens. Now here is the trailer of the American Horror Story season 10 double feature. So yeah, the song is called Bad Omen, and let's talk about the breakdown. So, what we saw in the first few of the American Horror Story double feature, we saw that the opening started off the same way that they described it, one by sand, one by sea, and how both sides are getting ready to collide with each other, and that for some reason it looks like it's giving us a good and evil type thing going on. We see that the alien and whatever creature that looks like a mermaid or so, you see that there's like experiments being done. So let me just replay it real quick and let me just show you guys what I mean. So you see the same thing I told you, there's a collide that's gonna be happening, and we see the one by sand and one by sea. Whenever time you see animals into something, you think that there's probably experiments being done. You see things by sand and things by sea, and you see that the aliens, and they see that it's like a collide, or like these two things have met, and you see that there's like syringes or pills are being like manifest. So it's like they're using those two type of creatures, they're using either their bodies to create pills to give people to transform. It's like a mutation thing. Now if we realize that's what's going on, we know that back in season 2 that one of the doctors, one of the Nazi doctors that was in season 2, he used to experiment on people. Now that would be pretty cool that we get more of the doctor in this season, but I know that that's just a theory of mine, because if we think about it like that, we know that each season, and based on the trailer, we see that the aliens and the creature that looks like it's from the sea, they're sharing pills, or this thing that they show that this on the table, that either they captured them and they using their body as experiment to gain either power or basically to create something that's forging those two forces into a human body. Now we even see some type of violin that's made out of meat, which I think that whoever that's captured the alien or the sea creature, they modifying their bodies or using piece of their body's flesh to create new things out of it. And especially they is basically they're emphasizing on the pills. Now those black pills could be anything. It could be things that triggers and change people's genetics. because anybody that talks about abduction always say that aliens either use people's bodies to check to see what's the human body is, and they will inject you with things that they could see if they could fit, to understand like what makes your genetics change if they use some type so if you think about the government from cooperative from season 8, and how they could create robots that looks very realistic, we could just say that for season 10 we might start getting that the cooperative or the government has a tie-in to the double feature. They probably, how I'm thinking of it, they probably capture two different things, one by sand, one by sea, and that they're combining these two elements to create something new out of it. Now, because of those two things probably been awakened on both sides, they're probably fighting against each other. It's like each side has a territory. If you realize how the double feature is, one have a territory on basically on the desert or on sand, and then the other one has its territory underwater. So if these two things meet, it's like they could be the worst enemies of each other. So I truly believe that, and for the double feature trailer, it heavily emphasizes that there will be some type of narcotics or drugs that's gonna be involved based on how they modifying or using the aliens' bodies to create drugs, or even the sea creature as well. Now we also realize that um, those two creatures are either um, basically making out, and either one of them either end up subduing the other, or they might fight each other to gain one other's territory. Because at the end of the trailer, we saw that the alien either he lost the battle and he landed right by the sea. So if you look at the way that the alien is posed on the water, so basically the way that the alien basically drops in front of the shore of the sand seashore is very reminiscent of the Lady of the Dunes, which was a criminal case back in the early 60s or 70s during the making movie of Jaws. So I realized that very quickly when I saw the trailer. Now, if you guys want to talk more about American Horror Story and how these will tie into like either Asylum, or like I said, some of the teaser trailers of season 6 had a big hint to it. So we could definitely see that happening in future seasons. But I think season 10 is going to tie into Asylum, as well as we might start getting the cooperative or even the government tie-in, which is Apocalypse tie-in into double feature. Because even the deer that we saw was very interesting, how the violin played right after of the scene where the deer was just standing. So either there's gonna be some experiments being made on animals as well as people, and there's gonna be abductions either from the sand and then abduction from the sea. So that's how the town or the people of the town will be start figuring out that people are being abandoned or captured and being experimented on, and the people are coming back completely different from how they used to look. So that's another thing. The government could take those aliens or the sea creatures that we saw and use their energy to turn them into actual, creatures, like they did back in season 2 with the whole doctor that basically turned some of the patients in the Briarcliff into like monstrous monsters. So even the sharp teeth that we got, which was the very first clue, so we definitely gonna see how that's gonna play out. But like I said, guys, I'm glad that I was able to do this short analysis. We will make more videos once there's more trailers or teasers come out for the season. Please subscribe and like the notification and ring that bell button, and I'll definitely see you guys soon. Bye bye.